Suddenly a fox came out of the bush with a mouse in its mouth. It eyed them briefly, but then quickly disappeared behind other bushes. Sighing, the wanderer leaned back against the rock and stretched his legs.
"What does a fellow like you have to do to have bounty hunters following you?"
he asked the child, who shrugged its shoulders in response.
Not much,
it answered first and then added.
Actually, it all started with a few breakouts from home. Well, and because I was less at home, I had less food to eat. There wasn't much anyway.
"So you stole?"
It was either that or starve,
it complained.
"That wasn't a reproach for me, kid."
"Stop calling me that! I'm not small!"
The wanderer made a roaring motion with his hand from the joint.
"Go on."
"Why are you so interested? What do I get out of it after all?"
In response, the man reached behind his leather armor once more and tossed him another piece of jerky. The boy caught it, but before taking a bite, he asked,
"Why do you keep that there?"
The wanderer raised a brow.
"Seriously?"
"What? Seriously? What kind of place is that to keep your food?"
"Wow. I thought someone like you would know how valuable food is."
"I know that very well. But why do you have to?"
The child paused. It had answered the question in its mind.
"Seems like no one has ever wanted your food. Just your life.
Again the boy shrugged. Now he took a tentative bite.
"Another reason to keep it there is so that wild animals can't smell it so well."
"But it smells like old man sweat."
Then the wanderer's index finger pointed at the boy.
"Hey, that's what gives the stuff the right spice."
"That's disgusting,"
the boy retorted without even showing a sign of humor. The wanderer grumbled.
"It is disgusting,"
he then admitted, but didn't seem to blame himself much, judging by the expression on his face.
"At some point,"
the child then simply continued,
"all the thefts accumulated. Someone must have been counting or something. After all, it was only one in the same village."
It shrugged its shoulders.
"They drove me out."
It chewed silently on the morsel for a while before confessing.
"Well, that's not really true. I ran away. I was asked to pay or they would get a consecrated blade."
He punched the air with his fist and shouted in a louder voice.
"What about them is so?"
At that the black wolf hissed with his index finger on his lips, whereupon the boy asked,
"Are you actually scared of them?"
"Even if it were true, do you think it's a good idea to poke a wasp's nest with your bare fingers?"
"What's that supposed to mean?"
"That you don't need to draw unnecessary attention to us, little one."
At that the boy gritted his teeth, showing them clearly at the same time.
"Hey,"
the wanderer replied.
"if you listen to me, I'll listen to you. Maybe."
"You are stupid."
"I never said otherwise."
"And you stink."
"It's no wonder when you've been out here for so long."
"Oh yeah? You...
The child's gaze wandered as if the next insult would be found somewhere around here. But then it lowered its head in resignation.
"It's all stupid."
For a while there was silence and nothing could be heard but the call of a fox, maybe the same one they had seen before.
"Where did you get that horse anyway?"
the boy finally asked when he had finished eating.
"Stole it too?"
"What's that supposed to mean too?"
"Well, why are they chasing you?"
"You don't know?"
"Yes, I do. But is it true?"
"Some of it."
"Like the child you killed?"
The man sighed.
"Don't say it like that."
"But it's dead, isn't it?"
"Yes."
"Did you kill it?"
"Yes."
"Well, then you did kill it. What am I not supposed to say?" "And when are you going to kill me?"
"When you've asked enough stupid questions, maybe I'll think about it."
He saw the boy look at him, startled.
"I was joking."
"You are not good at jokes."
"Because life hasn't been a joke so far, kid."
The boy chuckled.
"Tell me about it."
"Would it make you feel better if I told you that I killed a child in self-defense?"
"Self-defense?"
Now the boy had to laugh.
"You are the Black Wolf, what child?"
"Stop laughing, you idiot!"
The man suddenly shouted at him. He growled before adding,
"Ask me about anything like that again and I'll get really mad, understand?"
The boy said nothing, but one could see in his eyes that he understood. After exhaling in one long puff, the wanderer continued.
"It's enough that I have bad dreams about it."
"So it was an accident?"
Before the man could respond, the boy raised his hands and said in his defense,
I was talking to myself. I didn't ask you anything about it.
If you start being a smartass now.
Something similar happened to me once.
At these words, the wanderer lowered his admonishingly raised finger again. Over the next hour, the child told him how it came about that he killed his own father. In the end, it turned out that it haunted him too.
You'll learn to live with it, but that sounds too good,
the child finally concluded.
Because it sounds like such a healed wound, but there's nothing healed at all.
For me, it's ghosts that make themselves known every now and then. Sometimes itchy, sometimes painful.
Yes, that's much more like it, and sometimes they hinder you in what you do. Oh, whoa.
All at once it seemed rather downbeat.
Thorin will banish me to the shadowy plains of Antaram for what I have done.
You are all right, little one.
The child smiled weakly.
I think you are the only one who feels that way.
Well, that's like they say, once you mess up, it always hangs over you. Even if you had to do it. Like, for survival, you know. But it's always hanging over you, and it's easier to hang other things on you as well. Nowadays, most people find it more comfortable to blame someone else than to stop and think about how much they might be to blame.
At this, the boy nodded and pointed at the man.
That's exactly how I feel. Do you know how many big ones there are who just didn't listen to me? I'm still a child, they said. I wouldn't understand. Or, get older first. But I know very well that they have made mistakes too. Many of the so-called adults are even covering it up.
Well,
the wanderer grinned wearily.
Do you know what I believe sometimes?
The lad asked after a while.
I believe that evil is really good and good is evil, but disguised as good, you understand?
As the man did not answer, he looked up at him.
I think,
he then replied to him,
that you should sleep now. I will be the first to keep watch and then you. Agreed?
The boy narrowed his gaze, as if assessing whether the guy was really to be trusted there. But what options did he have? Besides, he could have killed him before if he really wanted to. Why should he wait until he fell asleep to do it? This thought had brought with it a great deal of leaden tiredness. Only now did he realize how heavy his limbs were and how two of them still hurt from the previous fight against the Black Wolf. Silently, he lay down on the bare ground, pulled his legs to his body and closed his eyes. For a while now, the wanderer had been eyeing the child. He shook his head, for only then had he realized that the boy was wearing the armor of a recruit of the Consecrated Blade, a blue leather armor with silver stitching. But that would mean he must have stolen the armor, straight from the Consecrated Blade itself. And that was pretty brazen. But that way he could explain how the boy must have found out about the story with the one-man army. The thing he did there with the ropes, that they loosened the bolts from the crossbows when they were pulled, that was the same tactic he had once used in a fight against several soldiers of the Consecrated Blade. He knew from experience that the soldiers were required to keep quiet about all information concerning the Black Wolf, at least as far as its abilities and behavior in battle were concerned. The people were already in turmoil enough, and no more sparks should be scattered in these arid times. So the fellow there must have stolen not only the armor, but also reports of the Consecrated Blade. But why? He cradled his head and loosened the short sword from his belt to rest the hilt against his shoulder and the tip of the scabbard on the ground again. He then wrapped his right hand around the hilt and rested his chin on the wrist. It was possible that the boy feared that the soldiers might have learned something about him. The fact that he survived as long as he did could most likely only be attributed to his sharp mind. And he did not doubt that he hunted down bounty hunters who were pursuing him. He himself had not seen one of that kind for a while. He guessed that they had probably learned that one only burns their fingers on the Black Wolf. Terror was a good weapon, he thought to himself, when you had to fight such a superior force. He knew what stories people told each other about him. Certainly not all of them, but enough. Then he raised his left hand, which was in his glove, as it almost always was, and examined it. The question bored into his heart, how much truth could there be to them? And the words his father spoke to him echoed in his head, about him being born under an evil star. It amazed him anew that he did not wake up with the blade at his throat, or found himself hovering over him with one slit open. Assar lay on all fours and looked at him almost reproachfully, as if the animal had taken over the guard duty that should have fallen to the boy. Groaning, the wanderer rose and stretched yawningly so. Then the boy woke up too, and when he realized that the sun was already well above the horizon, he jumped up and jerked around.
I thought you were going to wake me up.
Good morning.
Oh,
The boy threw up his hand and gathered his things.
you must think,
He said as he did so.
I wouldn't be good enough for it.
Well, to be honest, I fell asleep.
The child looked up and saw a man. Did he do it out of embarrassment? Scratching the back of his neck and shrugging his shoulders.
You are far too careless.
The boy immediately lectured him.
What if soldiers of the consecrated blade had found us in the night, while robbers had come?
The man pointed with his head at the black stallion.
He would have woken us if that had been the case. He has good ears. Besides, I'm still alive today, aren't I? Asa has only been with me for a short time.
That's the horse's name?
The wanderer nodded.
Then you must have just had a lot of luck, as stupid as you are.
I was tired. Besides, you trusted me, so what does that make you?
The boy had gathered the last of his things and was now standing up straight, looking at him silently. But he quickly grinned in response.
I like you.
Really? Better not make a habit of it.
He teased the boy, then finally told him that they had better get going. In his experience, if one was being chased, it was not a good idea to stay in one place too long. Firstly, one could take root. The boy didn't know what he really meant. And secondly, even if one was not wanted, one would gradually become better known. During the next days, the boy had discovered for himself that it was actually much easier stealing together, if one had a person to draw their attention before it got down to business. Besides, it helped tremendously that the partner didn't stab one in the back in the end. The wanderer was not proud of having to steal, but he didn't expect anyone to really understand him either. Stealing was not something he liked to do. He would certainly have preferred to work for the meals, but work is not something that was always available. Neither were meals. Hunger, however. Yes, that was a regular visitor. Grace, on the other hand, was not. Besides, he was conscious of his charisma, because there was no need to argue about his reputation according to him. For the Black Wolf, however, it was clear. He would not be able to keep this boy with him for long. The child needed a family, a good one. It could still be saved. Unlike him.